Before we begin our episode, I want to give a big shout out to defensive end Zadarius Smith.
Ah,
Nothing wrong with him, nothing right with him either. Just he at first decided he wanted to go to the Ravens, and he Justin at our buddy here, Justin's heartstrings, blue balled him. Decided I'm back out of this deal, and I'm gonna go to Minnesota. He does look good in purple. What do you think, Justin?
I didn't know we were starting off like this. I see. Geez, you guys set me up for failure this time. Oh man, this hurts.
Me and CJ were planning it from before the episode. We thought it would be a good idea.
It was a good idea to hurt me, but don't worry. The Ravens will be back, and we'll be back stronger than ever, with or without Zadarius Smith.
All right. Well, in other words, good evening, guys. You are listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 and Fans Only Sports Network. I'm Adam Wright, Justin Tucker, CJ Medieros in with you tonight. We have a lot planned for you, and Deshaun Watson has finally been traded. We will get to that. Free agency is beginning to wind down, and we will review all of the latest in that, including Zadarius Smith. But first,
You don't have to talk about him.
I think we need to. I think it's a very good topic for you to cover. We need to get your feelings on that. But first, let's talk about a recent trend taking place over this past offseason. So, with Matt Ryan being traded to the Colts, he joins what has become a mass exodus of players leaving the NFC and going to the AFC. So this list, it's a long list of star-studded players. Russell Wilson, Khalil Mack, Chandler Jones, Devontae Adams, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Von Miller, Randy Gregory, Matt Ryan, among others. So with all of these players leaving and going into the AFC, it leaves me to wonder about the NFC, which has become a little bit bare. But with all of these players here, what would you say your hierarchy is of teams in the NFC? Give me, let's say, your top 5, and then hang on. We have some breaking news. Former Saints offensive tackle Taron Armstead reached an agreement on a 5-year deal with the Miami Dolphins. So as expected from them, honestly, if I were the Saints, just an opening take on that. If I were the Saints, to be honest, I would have paid him. You do realize they're like what, NFC top 3?
Going to the AFC, just realized.
Oh, yeah, exactly, among others. And there's a lot of linemen, too, that I didn't mention. Alex Kappa, Lyle Collins, Ted Karras. Ted Karras was in the AFC.
He was already in the AFC.
There was another guy who I'm blanking on. But anyways, long list of players. What is let's say your top 5. And I'd love a little bit of a best of the rest as well. So in the NFC, rank your top 5 NFL teams in the NFC.
Oh, word. All right, then. All right, so right off the bat, I feel that the LA Rams are well primed to compete again, but they're obviously not as powerful, They're probably going to lose Odell. No more Robert Woods. No more Andrew Whitworth. No more Von Miller. No more Darius Williams. But, the main cast is still there, and you got Allen Robinson. So, it can't be too terrible. And, of course, now that Brady's back in the NFL, you have to include the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I would say at this point, it's like a 2-horse race between LA and Tampa, unless some other team magically becomes good. Then I guess Green Bay, because they have Aaron Rodgers, despite the fact he's literally going to be throwing to guys off the streets. Or better yet, Packers are going to go into the stands and be like, hey, you want to catch passes from Aaron Rodgers? Because Devontae Adams and Equinemius St. Brown are gone. I don't think Marquez Valdez-Scantling's coming back, and Alan Lazar is a restricted free agent. So if you're lucky, you're probably going to get him back. And then there's the NFC least, where the Cowboys are probably going to come out on top. Maybe. I don't know. That whole division's awful, and the Cowboys are just the most talented, so there's no reason they shouldn't. And, some other teams that might be interesting, the Vikings, because, they have that interesting combo of wide receivers, like Thielen and Jefferson. And now they have a good edge rusher combo in Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith. Ain't that right, Justin? But everything aside, maybe Philly could make some noise. They've been decent thus far. Maybe if Carson Wentz, that's a big maybe, can get his 2017 form again, that could be Philly could be a team to watch. I mean, the football team could be a team to watch. I still think of them in Philly for some reason. And maybe the 49ers, depending on if Jimmy G's their guy, because I've heard that Trey Lance is nowhere near like where they expect him to be. So I'll let you guys be the judge. That's kind of my hierarchy for teams that I think could be decent.
All right. Talk.
This is kind of hard. Now that I'm looking over the NFC, it's kind of underwhelming, especially when you look over the AFC. So when I look at it, it's kind of like the best of the rest already when I look at the NFC. Outside of like maybe 2 or 3 teams, the rest aren't really promising. When I look at number 1, I think it's Tampa Bay, and it's kind of like by default because everybody else is not what they used to be. I think the Rams coming off the Super Bowl are going to lose major pieces, which they already have. I think they're going to lose Odell, and I think they're going to lose well, they already lost Robert Woods, and they just lost their left tackle because he retired. So they're going to need to fill some spots on the team, and they just lost some of their defensive linemen too. So I don't think they'll have the same success rushing the passer that they did because Von Miller just signed a huge contract, and Sebastian Joseph Day just signed a huge contract somewhere else. Green Bay, again, same issue. I'm starting not to trust Aaron Rodgers like you guys are, but I'm still holding out hope. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't even have any weapons surrounding him because Devontae Adams just left, and everybody else except Allen Lazard are free agents. So they need to figure out how to get him weapons now. And unfortunately, an injury-prone Julio Jones is the only thing available. So that's rough. So I think it's going to be Tampa 1, Green Bay number 2, because I think they'll still maintain a float in the NFC North and be able to keep it somewhat competent in the NFC. Surprisingly, number 3, I think it's going to be the 49ers. I think the 49ers are a stable offense because they don't need great competent play from the quarterback position. They just need solid to good, and they'll be fine because of the running game and the way they play defense because they have Nick Bosa on one end and Tariq Armstead on the other, and that secondary isn't that bad even though he should have caught his name Tart should have caught that interception in the NFC Championship game. So I think with the pieces surrounding the quarterback, I think they'll be in position to be in the Super Bowl, but depending on how far they go is up to the quarterback. I understand that Trey Lance isn't where he should be right now, but if worse comes to worse, you can just keep Jimmy G for another season and run that back because he's not a bad quarterback and he does win in the playoffs. That's number 3. My number 4 is kind of a sleeper. I think Minnesota is going to be better than what everybody expects. I think Kirk Cousins has somehow become underrated and he doesn't get the appreciation he deserves. I think if Dalvin Cook can please stay healthy, he's a top 3 running back in this league. I believe if they upgrade that O-line for Kirk Cousins, I think that's going to be much better for Kirk Cousins. Justin Jefferson is elite at the wide receiver spot, and that defense is still that defense, and they have a new head coach that's an OC instead of the DC. So I think that's going to upgrade that offense majorly. And the last team, the Cowboys. It pains me. But they're too talented not to be on this team. It's just you have to ask whether or not they will mess up in the playoffs, which they always do. And I guess as a sleeper team to look out for, the Eagles. So those are my 5 teams.
I never think about the Eagles, to be honest. They are a good sleeper team, a nice little best of the rest pick. I like that. I didn't even think about them as a possible team. They did make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But right off the bat for me, I'm going to take Tampa Bay and LA. The NFC is very top heavy this year, and it's going to be those 2 teams who are really up there, and maybe there's one team that overachieves that'll be down there. But the Rams are number 2 because I think they just have less holes. It's gonna be a competition of who is the least flawed. Every one of these teams is flawed in some sort of way, and they're still trying to fill in holes in free agency, including Tampa Bay, who still has to add another starting guard across from Shaq Mason, and they still have some pieces in that front 7 they need to add back. Ndamukong Suh, JPP. They got Leonard Fournette back, so that fills in the running back need, but there's still a lot of pieces that need to be filled in those top 2 spots. But after that, it's a huge gap from 2 to 3. So 3, I actually have the Dallas Cowboys. I have the Dallas Cowboys because of their talent, not because of their skill. Or their talent, not because of, their lack of postseason success. Mm-hmm. Because, they always seem to choke. There's no analytical way to put it. It's just they're the Cowboys and they always screw up. But they're still just such a talented team that I just can't not put them in my top 3 in the NFC right now, especially with the way the NFC has turned out to be. After that, number 4 is the Arizona Cardinals. So the Arizona Cardinals, talented team. There's a little bit of turmoil going on, a little bit of pettiness, but that's going to get figured out. It's one that's, like I've said in the past, this is something that's going to blow up in like 2028 when, Kyler Murray, after he gets his big deal, he'll be towards the end of it. He says, I want to get traded. He gets traded. That's what's going to happen. But for now, this team's very competitive. They're number 4. Number 5, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Trey Lance may not have been coming along as quickly as they've wanted him to, but he's still been a pretty solid, he's in the games that he's been in for the San Francisco 49ers. He hasn't been bad. And now they're saying that he's coming along, and perhaps by the time he's their week 1 starter, he'll be able to lead this team, and they have a very good roster around them. So that's my top 5, my best of the rest. Certainly, now that Justin mentioned the Eagles, that's definitely a team to look at. And watch for Jalen Hurts' development. He's going into year 3 in the NFL. They have some pieces on offense. They're adding to that defense. I like what the Eagles are doing here, and they have two first-round picks in this draft. I like the Eagles. I also like the Minnesota Vikings. Now that, looking at what's going on in Green Bay, I don't think that's going to be a playoff team anymore, to be honest. They might be a little competitive. They might win 7-8 games, but I don't think that team lost all its offensive talent, and they lost Zadarius Smith, who went on to their division rivals, the Minnesota Vikings. And now that team has pieces on offense and defense. And even with Kirk Cousins, I think that team is going to win the division, and it's going to be competitive next year. So that is sort of my hierarchy, if you will.
All right. I disagree with Dallas being top 3. They just lost Randy Gregory, and they lost their starting right tackle, who's now with the Bengals. I don't trust that line.
And they traded Amari Cooper.
Especially that whole right side if Connor Williams is on that. If Connor Williams is on that right side, God help you if you're on the right side and you're Dak Prescott.
I just think they have a lot of talent and a lot of depth on that team. They'll be able to overcome it in a way. But this is, if you take this team and you put it into last year's hierarchy, they don't make the top 5 for me. But just because it's just out of the disrespect, if you will, or lack of confidence is probably a better term for the NFC right now, because it's looking bare, and it just comes down to which team is the least flawed, because all of them are. Even this Buccaneers team, they're not ready yet. They need to add a guard, and they need to re-sign some players on their front 7 on defense. But anyways, Deshaun Watson has finally been traded. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the team that he is on and how they'll do Don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski Podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. This is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Swings it way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown!
Welcome back. You are listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 and Fans Only Sports Network. Adam Wright here with CJ Medieros, Justin Tucker tonight. So, Deshaun Watson, after over a year of us as a podcast, we have been covering him for the entirety of our existence. Really, Justin, you can attest, right? We've been, ever since we started. That was when it was back in December, January. That was when we first started our pod, and the biggest news that came out for us is all the buzz surrounding Deshaun Watson. And now, after so many episodes of us speculating where he's going to go, he's finally been traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Believeland. Oh, they'll believe anything, all right.
Now, this was an interesting one because he at first he actually rejected them. He said, "I don't really want to go there," and then Cleveland never stopped negotiating with him, and they eventually came to terms. Watson changed his mind.
Hey, guys, real quick,
what's up?
We have an update with Taron Armstead. His contract has been released. It's a 5-year, $87 million deal with about $43 million guaranteed.
Wow.
I was going to say that was an overpay until I saw the guaranteed money. That's pretty good. And you know why the guaranteed money is so low? Because he has a bit of an injury history. So look, Tua, you got your new best friend. No excuses.
Yeah. So he's got that. That's what they needed was an offensive line.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Well, now he's got it, and if he keeps struggling, I don't know what to tell you.
And now
That's
Tua has
healthy.
Yep, Tua has no excuse now.
Amen.
He has no excuse. If he fails, then some people in Miami are gonna be a little bit regretting on not being like the Browns and making this deal happen. But anyways, he goes to the Browns, 3 first-round picks. I believe it's 2 fourth-round picks. I'm still looking into the details to this trade.
I think it's 3 firsts, like a third and a fifth. Wait,
no,
a third
so
and
it's
a fourth.
It's 3 fourths. 3
Wait,
fourths
3 fourths?
and
I thought it was 3 firsts.
no, it's 3 firsts and 2 fourths.
Terrible trade.
3 firsts and 2 fourths.
All right.
Oh yeah, so
and
3 firsts and 2 fourths, and the Browns get Watson like a fifth or something.
Watson in like a fifth round pick,
Yeah.
and he also gets a contract. What is it? $230 million.
Guaranteed.
All of it's guaranteed
over 5 years.
And to put it in perspective, his base salary is over $1 million. So even if the NFL wanted to fine him, they'd only be able to fine him for $1 million. None of the other money would be taken from him.
Absolutely. So he finally gets traded, and he goes to the Browns. They gave up a hefty price, but that team has all the talent in the world around them. So, guys, what do you think about the Browns now that they have Deshaun Watson? How do you guys think about that as a fit?
Well, let's let Tucker go first, since he's our resident AFC North guy.
First off, I want to say congratulations to Deshaun Watson for getting his money. $230 million guaranteed straight to the bank. That is solid money. I'm always appreciative of people getting their money, and I'm appreciative of him getting his money. I don't know how he got it, while in the middle of his 5-year, $135 million contract. But respect, I will give it. With that said, what this tells me in Cleveland is if they don't win a title within 5 years, this is a bust move. Like, this is an all or nothing type of thing. He may not win it in the first season. I'm like, all right, that's fine. He's learning a new system, a new offense, a new style of play, and a new conference. But from year 2 on, if he doesn't win you a title, it's going to be a problem, specifically with his contract. In Deshaun Watson's case, we don't even know if he's going to play right now. It's an icy situation, to say the least. One wrong move, and he might be gone, not only for one season, but for multiple seasons, if the allegations against him are true. So I want to make this clear. It's an all or nothing move that, if it goes right, they could potentially win multiple Super Bowls with the talent they've surrounded Deshaun Watson with. And it can go wrong, as in he may not play for the first 2 seasons, and you might not win anything once he starts playing. So it's a weird situation, and I kind of feel bad for Baker Mayfield in this situation. Not for Cam, our resident friend of the show, who's a big Baker Mayfield fan, but I do feel bad for Baker Mayfield because he doesn't deserve to be in the situation he's in.
Well, then, it's weird. I mean, I guess technically Deshaun Watson's been absolved of most of like his legal issues, right?
Most. He still has problems.
Yeah. So here's like another thing, if I've seen many Browns fans on social media that are torn, because, they made fun of Ben Roethlisberger for so long and, now the shoe's on the other foot. Now they have a potential, less than squeaky clean reputation off the field quarterback. And in a way, when you get a player like that, in order to win, it's almost like selling your soul. Or so I've been told by some Browns fans that I know. Anyway, when you look at him when you look at the contract, that's $230 million guaranteed, like all of it, most money ever for a guaranteed contract. That's insane. Now, what I do think it's funny or smart for the Browns to, give him like only $1 million his first year, just in case the NFL, decides to punish him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's smart. The division, that's going to be a tough division because the Steelers, at least Mike Tomlin will always go 8-8. You have that. Then you have the Ravens, who, are just starting to get all their guys back and healthy. And then you have the Bengals that just went to the Super Bowl. What are you going to do to make them stand out, Deshaun? You have a good running game. You have Amari Cooper and David Njoku to throw to. You have a good O-line, with guys like, what's his name? Is it Jedrick Wills, I think, is on there?
Wills, yes. Wyatt Teller.
Oh, and Wyatt Teller. That's what I was thinking of.
They just got rid of their center, though.
Yeah, that's weird. I think they might go Linderbaum in the draft, but that's a debate for another time. So, and you have a good defense. Guys like Deshaun Watson and Denzel Ward and Chase Winovich on that defense. So, I'm eager to see what he can bring, but do not expect it to be as. But Deshaun, word of wisdom, do not expect it to be as weak as the AFC South was, because at least you got 2 other contenders right there with you.
Yeah, that's a tough division. It's us in the AFC West. That's a very tough division for Deshaun to play in.
Yep.
All right. So this feels like, to me, one of those moves where it's, it's that one team that's one piece away, like the LA Rams before them last year. They're one piece away, usually the quarterback, from truly being able to get over that hump. You were a borderline playoff team. You were in and out. You might have won a few playoff games, but you didn't have what it took to actually get to where you needed to go. Now you got to trade away Baker Mayfield, and you trade a haul of picks, and you get Deshaun Watson. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Baker Mayfield.
No, not Baker. No. You saw what I put in the chat, right?
Let me look. What are we?
Oh, no. We can't say it on air, I don't think. But Justin, wow.
Get it in and out. I don't get it.
No, because you said he's been in and out, and
yeah, that is
I think that's what he's been accused of.
That is very,
too.
very out of pocket, and you know it.
But don't repeat
just
the
as his accusations have said. We are all aware.
It's just a little sexual joke. It doesn't matter. It's a little out of pocket given it's Deshaun Watson, but
okay.
And you're lucky we only have one person on it who's watching us right now.
Wow.
I'm not trying to get canceled, guys. Let's go. Let's continue.
Anyways, so we're lucky we only have one person watching live. But anyways, lost my train of thought because of your sexual joke, Justin. All right. But Deshaun Watson, he's traded to this team. They have all the talent in the world that they need to compete with everybody else in the AFC. They have an offensive line that's among the best in the game. They have a running game that's among the best in the game. They have a defense that is ferocious, led by Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, among several other key players. Lots of playmakers on that defense. And yes, you don't really have a wide receiver 2, but you have a wide receiver 1. Amari Cooper's pretty damn good. So to have him to throw to, for Deshaun Watson to throw to, it's pretty damn good. So this team is really just a wide receiver 2 away from being among the best in the entire NFL. And they can compete with really anybody out there. And and as Justin said, if this team doesn't win a Super Bowl in Deshaun Watson's tenure here, it would be typical Browns, man. It really would. And it would really you get Deshaun. And also the person who's listening is your dad. That one person we were looking at.
Yeah.
He said, Jeff Medeiros, he said, good vibes.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, he's
not sure what that means. But anyways, so this is a team that should compete. It is literally, like we said, right after, in the direct aftermath of Matthew Stafford being traded, it is Super Bowl or bust. If you don't win a Super Bowl, it is a massive disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I
see you smirking.
I mean, that's the trend. No, buy now, pay later.
Basically, and that's what that is what it's turning into. That is the trend. You know, these teams who are going all in and having it pay off. It's influencing more and more teams to go all in, and that's what everybody is doing right now. At least in the AFC. The NFC hasn't quite caught up to that yet, but you know, the two teams that have bought in the past couple of years, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rams, they're still in it. Nobody else is. They're just saying, here AFC, take my intestines, you take my heart. You take my guts. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
But anyways, coming up next, we are going to get into the winners and losers of free agency. You're not going to want to miss this. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. You are listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. I'm Adam Wright, CJ Medeiros, Justin Tucker, in with you tonight. So, the free agency finally starting to settle down. A lot of the bigger names are finally, they're all being signed to teams. So, looking at this, we did this last offseason during when free agency started to settle down. But who are the winners and losers of free agency? We're going to start with the winners, and we can go around. We'll give our pick, which team, and you guys answer the question.
Okay. So to me, I'll take this one first because I think it's pretty obvious who won free agency, and the answer is the entire AFC West won in free agency this year. But if you want me to be more specific, I think the Chargers have had the best free agency so far because they were able to sustain the offense, be able to re-sign Mike Williams, and add to that already solid defense with getting Khalil Mack, putting him on the opposite end of Joey Bosa, getting J.C. Jackson to pair up with Derwin James in that secondary. So it not only solidified the offense, it also solidified the defense, and now they actually do have a legitimate chance to not only win the AFC West, but they can be the number one seed in the entire AFC this year. I could see that happening, no problem.
Now,
CJ?
Yeah. My winner, personally, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I am just kidding. They did not win free agency. They overpaid a bunch of mediocre players. Anyone who says otherwise doesn't know football. Now, but I actually have to go with Justin. The winner by far in the AFC West, which made a buttload of ridiculous moves, it's got to be the Chargers. What did he say? You get back your man Mike Williams, right? That's important. And Joey Bosa along with Khalil Mack, that's something, isn't it? And you get J.C. Jackson to pair up with Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James. I mean, just the additions of Mack and Jackson are insane. However, I'm going a slightly different direction. I know it's a cop-out, but think about it, the entire AFC West. I mean, even the Chiefs are making moves, getting guys like Justin Reed and Juju Smith-Schuster. And, then there's the Raiders getting guys like Chandler Jones to pair up with Max Crosby. Oh, and only wrangling Davante Adams from the Packers, for, in my opinion, is a steal. Just your first and second this year? And then, to a lesser extent, the Broncos, who, you got Randy Gregory, but you also got your Golden Goose and Russell Wilson. So I would have to say the Chargers, but to a greater extent, the entire AFC West, that's going to be they're basically going to be what the NFC West was last year. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if all of those teams ended up making the playoffs, in the AFC West. Adam?
All right. So if this AFC West is your pick, you guys can't. You got just wait for my biggest losers, but my biggest winner in free agency is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So not only do they get back Tom Brady,
it better not.
I just said.
What else did they do?
They brought back a lot of their key players. They added another piece who is more reliable than Antonio Brown in Russell Gage. May not be quite as talented, but he is a little younger.
You don't believe that, but okay.
He's a little younger. What?
Russell Gage. I don't care what his off the field issues are, but you're mentioning Russell Gage in the same breath as Antonio Brown. I can't allow that.
But at this point in their careers,
you don't believe that.
Still,
I'm not saying he's as talented.
I own Antonio Brown in fantasy. That guy was a monster when he played.
That's not my point. They added another piece on offense to put in the place of their number 3 option. And on top of that, they added pieces on defense. Well, at least got them back with Carlton Davis. They got Logan Ryan. And not only that, but when you look at the rest of the NFC, it's all gone. It's in the AFC now. So basically, this entire Buccaneers team, they were able to retain to a level, to an extent, their talent on that team, but also the other teams got worse. So they're the biggest winners because they don't have it tough with other teams, and they've added more talent to sort of retain what they have going. So I have them as the biggest winners in free agency.
I wouldn't call them the biggest winners.
I mean, I disagree, but fair enough.
I'd say that's a solid take, but no.
All right.
I respect it.
After that, let's do the biggest loser in free agency.
I'm stuck, but I'm going to choose the Cowboys. Granted, I really thought about choosing the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I realized it's the Jaguars. We weren't expecting much from them. But with the Cowboys, people actually expect them to do well in the playoffs. So you come into free agency this year, and the best signing you've had so far is Dante Fowler, a Robin to a Batman such as Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack, somebody of that nature. So they don't have that is their best signing so far, and I'm quite disappointed. They haven't got anybody to fill the right tackle spot. They haven't gotten anybody to get Connor Williams off the field. They haven't gotten anybody to show up their wide receiver number 2 spot or the number 3 spot, depending on how you see Michael Gallup. They re-signed Michael Gallup, but then got rid of Amari Cooper. So it's like, okay. I'm not seeing how they're going to do well in the playoffs, especially if they have to face Tampa down the line. And I think they haven't improved. I think they decreased in talent. So with that said, I think they're the biggest losers so far in free agency.
Yeah, I understand. And given the most recent trade, I can see how a lot of people will disagree, but I have to go with the Colts. I really do. And hear me out, all right? They traded for Matt Ryan and Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
Okay, and I say, oh, but they did this. And my response is, and what? I'll tell you what else they did. Nothing. They still have some of the most cap space in the league, and they haven't addressed anything. I mean, outside of Quinn Nelson, Ryan Kelly, their O-line isn't that great. They still lack a left tackle, and they lost Mark Lewinsky in free agency. Who's going to be their number one receiver? Michael Pittman Jr.? I don't think so. They have not addressed their receiver position at all. They re-signed the mediocre tight end Mo Alley Cox. And outside of Kenny Moore, who's there in your defensive backfield? You have money to go out and grab a – no, I said who else besides Kenny Moore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they just got rid of Rocky Sin.
Yeah. And then Yannick Ngakoue trade's like, oh, yeah, they got Yannick Ngakoue and they got Matt Ryan. That's great. What about their receiving core? That's not a good group. They're one Michael Pittman Jr. away from being an entire practice squad group. They have in their defensive backfield, they have nobody outside of Kenny Moore. And I know what you're thinking. Like, oh, well, they've had a lot of money before and sat out in free agency. They did it like a few years ago. And I'm like, yes, I understand. But that was when Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard were in contract years, and they were both extended. But who do they have next? Like, oh, yeah, they have DeForest Buckner. So you're still going to have enough money beside that. Like, why aren't you fixing any of the glaring holes on your roster? It's like, they got Matt Ryan. Who's he going to throw to? They've had so much money, and a lot of it's been gone on that Ryan trade. It's just, I feel for the Colts fans. I actually know some up here that are upset because they really haven't touched their money yet. And I'm like, I'm sorry. My heart goes out to you. Well, that's my rant. Adam?
All right. So my biggest loser in free agency is the entire AFC West.
All right. I need to hear the mental gymnastics.
I thought you were going to say the Chiefs. Oh, I'm sick.
All right. Let's hear the mental gymnastics.
If you're in the AFC West, you added all this talent. That's all fine and good. But now that the problem is everybody in that division has added a lot of talent. And if they were in, and and all the power to that one team. Good for them. If that one team gets out of that division and wins a few rounds in the playoffs, maybe another team makes the playoffs as well. They're still going to have a couple losses to their name. They will be battle tested. But think about if you are, let's say, the Raiders and you miss the playoffs. You finished, let's say, 10-7, 11-6, but you still missed the playoffs because you're in the AFC West. You're going to be looking around at the other divisions and saying, man, if I was in the AFC South or the AFC East, I'd probably win that division. Or if you're the Denver Broncos, you take a little bit of time to sort of gel because that roster is kind of thrown together. And then you wind up maybe, let's say, down the stretch, you finish as, down the stretch, you finish as one of the better teams in football because, that team is talented. And then you barely miss the playoffs. You say, man, how did I miss the playoffs? But freaking Indianapolis over there, they won the division with Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman as their number one wide receiver. How do they make the playoffs and we don't? It's great that they added all this talent, but at what point are all these players going to stop and think, well, yeah, we're making our teams more talented, but only a couple of us actually come out of that division, if any of them come out of the division to get to make the playoffs. So it's one of those things where I think you got to pump the brakes a little bit on the AFC West because obviously, yes, we do. Because not all of them. One of those teams is going to get porked. Probably a couple of them.
Yes, Adam. That's how it works. You can't take points away.
So would you rather than have done nothing? Would you rather than just saying, "Oh, our division's too good. Let's not even try"? This is the point of free agency.
That's how.
So then, if someone's going to get poor, what would you rather them do?
It's not a matter of what you can control. It's more so just it's just bad luck. I'm not saying that they're at fault for that. It's just you're in a division that's very competitive, and every team had this in that division had the same mindset. Let's copy what the Rams did and go all in, which is what they're all doing. And now you're going to look at this and they're going to say, well, we're kind of screwed now because we may not make it out of this division, yet we have one of the more talented teams in the league.
That happens almost every year.
Well, then I guess it's going to be who's the best coach then.
Yeah,
not like this. It won't be. It never happens like this. There's always a team that's a little talented that misses out. They barely miss out, but not like this. There's a team that one of these teams is loaded. Well, every single one of these teams is loaded, but one of them is going to finish last. And they're going to look around and they're going to say, if I was in any other division, I would have probably won the division.
You do know with expanded playoffs,
I disagree with
all of them could make it in. Right?
In the AFC, I see them winning the division. If you are the Raiders and you go into the AFC South, that team is better than all of them.
That's the only one. But if you look in the East, you have the Patriots and the Bills, and still
they're better than the Patriots.
Yeah.
Right, I disagree. I think
who's better than us?
He's saying the Raiders right now, currently constructed, are better than the Patriots.
Roster-wise, yes, but they're still going to be coached by Josh McDaniels. That's why I'm kind of pumping the brakes on the Raiders. I love their pickups, but Josh McDaniels is still their head coach. And to Raider Nation, I say, enjoy the 3rd and 10 screen passes.
And I know they're not looking at the North and saying, yeah, we could win that division, like just out of pocket saying that.
I disagree on Josh McDaniels. It's not that I'm not trying to say that he did everything right in Denver a few years back, but it wasn't the coaching that was the issue. It was he tried to be like Bill Belichick too quickly. He tried to take that credibility and say, "I'm Bill Belichick. I can do whatever the hell I want."
He's going to do it again.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't he? Why would you rule out that he changed that? Maybe he fixed that and he said, and I believe he did say that a few years back. He said, I mean, I kind of learned from my last stint. Everybody was, everybody said, "Hey, screw you, pal. You've only been leader of this team. You've been leader of this team for only a couple of years,
and
you're
still
trying
the
to
worst coach in that division. I would literally still take Nathaniel Hackett, who hasn't even coached yet, over him.
Okay, the talent is there.
Yeah. And how many times has bad coaches ruined a talented team? Pretty much Andy Reid every year, except that one time Mahomes carried him to a Super Bowl.
And they've won the division almost every year under Andy Reid.
Oh, yeah. And please regale me with his many playoff successes. I'll wait.
4 straight AFC championship games?
And, that'll do it.
So, but here's the thing. Where's the accolades? Where's the hardware?
He's got 2 AFC championship wins and a Super Bowl. I mean, that's kind of hard to do. I know we like to say he's a joker. That's hard to do.
There is no excuse. I've seen some of the teams he's had over the years. Andy Reid, all jokes aside, there's no reason he shouldn't have at least 4 rings.
We're getting a little bit sidetracked here, but I think the NFC. I'm not saying the NFC did anything wrong. The AFC West did anything wrong. I'm just saying that they're a couple teams in that division are going to be really unlucky, and because of that, I just put the entire AFC West in that category because it could be real. You can make a case for any one of them. Honestly, I would not rule out the Chiefs. It would take a hell of a lot of things to go wrong, but I wouldn't rule out the Chiefs from missing the playoffs in this division because the Chiefs have gotten worse this year. I think they've gotten worse this offseason. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, and they added in Justin Reed, so they got a little bit worse there. They lost Charvarius Ward, so their secondary is going to be. It was already shaky before. Now it's going to be worse.
So I just want to point out, you're putting I just want to see if I'm reading you right. You're going to put the entire AFC West as losers because they might of free agency. So they lost free agency because they might not make the playoffs. So that means by not making the playoffs, they've lost free agency. Am I reading that right?
Because a few of them won't make the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not might
so,
not.
So because there's a possibility they won't make the playoffs, that means they're losers of free agency. Yeah, that makes total sense.
There's no possibility. It's going to happen.
Okay, so then which one's not going to make it? Let's hear it. Which one right now is 100% not going?
I can make a case for all of them.
Okay, you know what?
There's a possibility all of them can make it. It goes.
Yeah, literally with the expanded playoffs, literally all of them could.
That's not true.
5, 6, 7 are wild card spots. They could make it mathematically.
Yes, mathematically. I mean, it's possible. But look, I understand. Can we just go to the next segment?
We'll talk about this later.
All right. So we talked about our biggest winners of free agency. Now we want to hear your biggest winners of free agency. That's right. We're going to get into our fan box. That's next. Don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski Podcast.
Way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Welcome back. This is the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 and Fans Only Sports Network. I'm Adam Wright, CJ Medieros, Justin Tucker with you tonight. We are talking a lot of free agency, very heavy free agency so far in this episode, and we're going to continue with the fan box. So we post a question filter on our Instagram every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more, and we will discuss it and give you a shout out on our show. Respond to next week's fan box question to be featured on our podcast. Now, the question of the week was, which team is the biggest winner so far in free agency? I think I forgot to update it. But hang on. I'm going to fix it to which team is your biggest winner so far in all right, we'll just roll with this without the banner. But so number 1 was Tyler Sumner, who said the Raiders. Now this is a team that added Chandler Jones. That was about their only free agency pickup. They did get Demarcus Robinson earlier today, but other than that, everything else was through trade. Rock Sin. I'm forgetting the big one. I'm not forgetting the big one.
Could it be Davante
Adams? And then, so Diego Huertas said Chargers or Raiders. So that's a team that you pick either one, and it's a rational argument.
Yes,
because the Chargers got better, adding pieces on defense. That defense is going to be ferocious. And they got their main guy, Mike Williams. Anyways, Stephen Parker said Bengals. So,
hell no.
Bengals, why?
I mean, they did fix the O-line, but I
fixed
need
their
to
offensive line.
Yeah, I need to see them fix the defensive backfield, though.
No. They won that. You saw they signed Eli Apple again. They won that. I'll take that. Any day. They signed them back. Nice job, Bengals.
But something tells me they're going to make another move because they released Trey Waynes, which clears $11 million in cap space, which puts them at $23 million this offseason. So they're clearly going to do something else, and they also have the draft to address it. So I'll allow it. They fixed their offensive line, which was number 1. So you need to make sure that you're taking care of Joe Burrow, and they're prioritizing that. They're not making the mistake that the Colts did with Andrew Luck, where they got him killed, and he decided to retire before he was, I think it was it before age 30 or was he 31? I'm not sure.
He was 29 or something like that. It was
20, yeah, before age 30. So Robert Canedo said Raiders. So again, Raiders, that team now has pieces everywhere, and it sucks that you can make a real argument that they won't make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Because that team is loaded with talent now. They might need a little bit on their offensive line, but that's about it. They could use some work in the secondary too, but you have one of the better pass rushing duos in the league. You have Davante Adams, you have Hunter Renfrow, you have Darren Waller, you have now DeMarcus Robinson, Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Great team right there. Grayson Mortimer said Chargers deserve a shout out. They certainly do.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
They added everywhere, and it's pretty hard to screw that up. But they are the Chargers. They had a good team going into last season, and they managed to miss the playoffs. But Patrick Williver said Chargers and Bengals. So we've just discussed both of them in previous fan box answers. They're both pretty well set up. Like I said, the Bengals just need to work on that secondary. And honestly, there's still a couple pieces out there. Kyle Fuller.
I think they've done enough in the secondary.
Oh, yeah, because you want Lamar Jackson to be less bad.
Burn Eli Apple, yeah. Oh.
No. Excuse me.
Christ.
Say that again.
I said Lamar Jackson wants to run.
Throw all over him.
He'll try to. Brian Mucker said Broncos. So Broncos, that's a team that has all the pieces. I feel like they might take a little bit of time to gel, but that's a team that could contend in the AFC. Problem is they're in the AFC West, so it's going to be hard to get out of that division. But that's a team that has a lot of talent, and they have just as good a chance as anyone in that division and in the AFC. Mm-hmm. But Tyson Tate said if the Vikings can get Zadarius Smith, so this was right before the Zadarius Smith deal happened.
Yeah.
Right before, moments before tragedy. Right, Tuck?
Sure looks good in purple.
He said if they can get Zadarius Smith, they're a 10-plus win team. That's I agree.
Yeah, I believe it.
I think they win that division.
Zadarius does know when to pull out. I'll give him that. Anyway.
Like Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry, okay. I had to.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah. I don't know. Deshaun Watson finally got traded. Think about that, Tuck. Think about how long we've been covering that. About literally the entirety of our episode of this show. And now he's finally out.
I'd say a few months after. I think it's been just about a year.
I think it's been about like 2 months because it was like there was buzz before then.
No, that he wanted to leave.
It's been going on for a long time. In fact, I think it was even before the Super Bowl. So it's literally been over. It's been a really, really long time. And
I'm just glad this whole saga's over because now I don't have to keep wondering or hearing about it.
Well, we could. The civil lawsuits are still going on, so he could get suspended, and then we'll hear more about that, and then he could get traded to another team or something like that. But at least it's not. At least we're not wondering anymore. There was actually action that was taking place, so that's good at least. But all right. Anyways, any other thoughts before we end the show here?
No.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to tune in to us live Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube through Fans Only Sports Network. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.
Bye-bye.